Hi, and welcome to 12 Days of Self-Care. So, I think for day one, we're just going to keep it reasonably simple. We're not going to get too deep, but we are going to start noticing where our energy comes from and what takes it away. Basically, anything we do, anything we entertain in our minds, people we interact with, places we go to, experiences we have, you can broadly categorize them into one of two categories. They will either give you energy or they will take some energy away from you. Some things will take a lot or give a lot, and some things will just boost you or deplete you a little bit. But what I want you to start doing is to firstly make a list. One is going to be called things that give me energy. One is going to be called things that deplete energy. It doesn't matter if you do it on your phone in a notes app. That can be the most handy thing for when you actually do notice them. You're going to just keep those lists and you're going to start noticing what it is you put in those lists. And the reason this is important is because a lot of times, it's certainly true in my case, it's been true of people I've had this conversation with as well. When we're optimized for productivity, when we're optimized for achieving, and it might be that was how you got attention, praise, love as a child. It might have been how you got acceptance at school or in your social group. It might be that was the only way you could make it in your industry, like you had to overperform much more than anyone else did for whatever reason, or that was just the culture where you were at work. It might have been that maybe it wasn't safe for you as a child to express, quote, negative emotions, or you were afraid of mimicking someone who had like very extreme volatile emotions, or maybe you weren't allowed to express some part of who you really were, either in your social group or in your family. Whatever the reason was, it trains us to dissociate from our emotional state. It trains us, and tech culture, hustle culture, just the dominant culture of getting things done tends to reinforce that we should just dissociate from our emotions, from what our discomfort, from our tiredness, in the name of productivity. And self-care is really about getting back to actually noticing what is going on with you physically, because we've become so dissociated from it. We're exhausted all the time. We're not sure what's going on. So you have to start with noticing. It doesn't matter, we're not going to start changing things now, but we are going to start noticing and paying attention to, the incoming and outgoing energy patterns that are being affected by the things that we do in our lives. And again, in modern culture, especially in business culture, we see so many people just acting like your feelings and your emotions, they're valueless, they make you weak, they make you too feminine or effeminate, when in reality, those are the compass that will get you back towards a life that is meaningful for you. And a life that is meaningful for you is not going to look like a life that is meaningful for anyone else. It's like falling in love. No one, no matter how successful they are, can tell you the qualities you should be looking for in someone you love, right? You alone have to know what that is. So you have to pay attention to how you feel, because that is one thing. First of all, no one else can tell you how to be successful, because what success means for you and what happiness means for you is going to be based on what makes you feel good. And no one knows what that is but you, right? You can't outsource that. You can't crowdsource that. The second thing, and we're in a culture where people really like to believe in gurus and in these success stories. But people are not very objective when they're telling their success story. We have, as a culture, a really strong bias to want to be the underdog. We love that story. And in reality, the most successful people actually had money, they had connections, and they had a lot of time to develop things. They got a lot of good faith. I'm not saying any of those things are wrong. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not even saying that their narrative of being an underdog is bad either. That just makes them human, just as human as you or me, right? But I am saying don't put too much faith in those stories, especially when someone tells you, and that's how they did it, right? Especially when it comes to devaluing your feelings of being uncomfortable, being tired, not liking the environment you're in. Pay attention to those things. So for now, we're just going to do 2 lists, fill them in, and check in on them regularly. At least once a week, but also anytime you're feeling kind of confused or kind of blah, or you're kind of vaguely upset and you're not sure why, check in on your lists then. We're going to add more. I'm a real believer in the healing power of lists. But the thing is, we can get so busy with the things we need to do and our social obligations that we do lose sight of what actually fills our cup. And that is why these list reviews are very important. And I think that's all for now. So I'm going to actually provide a Trello template because I'm a super nerd. But like I said, and it's just a Trello template of a bunch of not maybe all of the lists, because I'm not really sure how many lists I'm going to give you guys. I may have gone over what 12 days are, but it's based on a Trello template I use. So you can have that and use that if you don't have like a system in place for kind of capturing and writing these down. But you can just use what you have on your phone. You can use your journal if you have a journal, and just use whatever works for you and review it often. So that's day 1, and I hope that makes sense for you. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.